client recently dropped off this long dresser to match a previously refinished piece she purchased from me earlier this year. I'm going to start out just like every other piece that I do, disassembling the drawers out and inspecting everything. It's really important to get a good clean surface. You can see there's been some dust buildup over the years. I start by vacuuming everything out, and then I move along to a good degreaser. This is a TSP alternative. I just use a bucket of warm water, spray it on, wipe it back really, really well. And next, I prep these drawer glides. They have ball bearings, and if there's dust or debris that gets in there, they don't slide very well. So it's important to tape them all off. I'm going to start by removing the old hardware. I'll keep this hardware, possibly for future use. She wanted to switch it out and use hardware that matched the other dresser I refinished for her previously. There's nothing wrong with this hardware, it's perfectly good. Next, I am going to fill the old hardware holes with a hard filler like Bondo that I'm using here. This is a two-part system. You take part A and you take part B. You want to work in small batches. It does dry very quickly. And you mix those two together until you have a uniform color. And then once you have that, you do need to start spreading rather fast. I get at least one coat done, and I was able to fill in all the holes. And if it needs a second coat, I'll go ahead and do a second coat after sanding. I'm using my Surf Prep sander. I just had some regular orbital sandpaper, works just fine. And I hook this up to my shop vac. It's a great dust collector and helps to keep things a little bit cleaner. I'm just scratching up the surface. This piece is getting all painted, but it did have a shiny factory finish. So I just want to create some tooth for that primer and then paint to be able to grip onto. Next, I'm switching out for a foam pad. This will help to protect some of those curved details while still getting a good tooth or scratch the surface of those rounded edges. And here I am sanding back that original Bondo fill. I did end up filling these drawer faces twice, just to make sure that I got a good smooth surface. It's really important now to wipe everything back again. I just use clean water and a rag, pick up all that dust, and to prime, I'm using Bin Shellac Primer. This is a stinky product. I recommend always using a respirator, and I always filter it through a mesh before putting it in my sprayer. And here goes the first coat of primer. It's always satisfying to watch that color change. It really has great coverage, sprays beautifully. I know some people don't like spraying it. It is a little bit of a hassle to clean up, but with a little bit of ammonia and water, it does come right out of my sprayer. Again, it's a stinky process, so make sure you wear protection. here I am spraying the drawer creases. Most of the time I'll just use a guard like this. You can see I block the insides and sides of the drawers just so that it doesn't get any overspray. I typically start from the center of the drawer edge and then work either left or right to avoid the overspray getting inside or in any of the places that I do not want the overspray to get. Now I use a high grit, like 400, to lightly sand back that primer that I just sprayed. This just gives a really smooth surface. You can see I filled a little bit more with just some glazing fill where the old hardware holes were. Again, this just gives a really nice finish. And now it's time for color. I'm using Benjamin Moore in their Command line in a satin sheen. This color is Baby Fawn. It's a beautiful off-white color, a good neutral. Now on to spraying the drawer fronts. Again, I spray them just the way I sprayed the primer. I go right over the primer, going in nice smooth motions and getting that paint on. It's so satisfying to see that color go on nice and smooth. After primer, I am going to spray the dresser. I'm going to take a clean cloth or paper towel, really wipe back any of that sanding dust, make sure I have a nice, clean, smooth surface, and I start spraying. It's so satisfying to see that color come down. I always try to overlap my spray pattern by at least 50%, just to get a nice full coverage on surfaces like this that are horizontal. You don't have to worry about sags as much, but you still have to worry about petals. You don't want to spray it on too thick. You can always build your color and your coverage with multiple coats, but you still don't want to go so sparse that you can see any of your spray patterns. This paint sprays beautifully, sands beautifully in between coats. I really like this paint. It's very durable. I'm going to start the day by, again, giving a really gentle sand with 400 grit sandpaper on that first coat of paint that I did. Once that's done, I wipe everything back. You can see there are some areas that I did fill. That color really helps to let you know what little areas that might need a little bit more filler. So this is coat number 2 going on the top. Again, sprays really, really nicely. Just slow, even strokes. Now, one of my favorite parts, taking the tape off, getting everything ready to be put back together. You can really start to see the final finished piece come together. I'm going to move my dresser body onto my staging wall. You can see I created a staging wall in my garage. It makes things a lot easier than lugging things in the house to take pictures. It's a lot lighter without the drawers in. So I do this first and then put drawers in. Each drawer is going to be a little different on each piece, so it's important to measure where your center lines are. I use this handy template to figure out the spacing based off of the center of those drawer faces. I have 5-inch centers on these particular hardware, so this template makes it really easy to get accurate holes each and every time for each drawer face. Now I go ahead and I re-vacuum all the drawers yet again, get up any sawdust, any overspray. I use a mild soap and I clean all the drawer boxes inside and out, sides, back, all of it. There's a lot of dust, so it's important to have a clean surface. Next, I'm going to measure for my lining. I am going to line these drawers for her. She did request that. So I measure, I cut my paper. This is a self-adhesive wallpaper, and it keeps those drawer bottoms nice and clean. To reinstall those drawers. These ones are a little bit tricky with those side mounted drawer glides, but once they're in, they slide like a dream. it's time to stage. I got a nice neutral carpet. The goal is to stage it in a neutral way so that people can envision it in their own space. I like to add a art print. This is one that I made myself. Just a simple yet dramatic print. I love to add at least one potted plant. It adds a little bit of greenery, a little bit of nature. It really makes the pieces pop. I take some books that I thrifted. These just have nice neutral hardcovers. Again, just something that's simple, something that does not take away from the piece, but allows people to envision what they might look like staged in a room. And here is the finished look. I really like how this dresser turned out. It was a more modern piece, but it does not mean that it was not a quality built piece. It's very, very heavy. It took the paint beautifully. It's a really nice long dresser. It's going to fit the space that she has and match her existing dresser beautifully. Until next time, thank you.